arrived in the picturesque town of Belmont in the Centro region of Portugal, and this historic building is where we'll be staying.
Set on the slopes of the Esperança mountain, the Convento de Belmont is a typical Portuguese pousada. The pousadas were created in the early 1940s by government minister Antonio Ferreiro, who had the idea of creating hotels that were both rustic and genuinely Portuguese. There's now over 44 pousadas installed in historic buildings.
Now, Belmont is most famous for being the birthplace of Pedro Cabral, the explorer who discovered Vera Cruz, better known to us today as Brazil. In fact, when Pedro landed, he planted a huge cross into the sand to mark his discovery of the land and also introduce Christianity to the region. That was back in the 1500s, and 500 years later, the Brazilians gave it back to Belmont. In fact, here it is today.
Just an hour's drive away is the beautiful town of Viseu. Unspoilt from its medieval days, Viseu has some fantastic architecture and a picturesque cathedral square, home to 3 huge and historical buildings: the twin-towered cathedral, which gives the square its name, the striking church, and the Greco-Vasco Museum, devoted to one of Portugal's finest painters who lived in the town most of his life. Plus, if you're a lover of fine wine, it's worth noting that Viseu is home to Deo wine, a drink synonymous with the region. The Portuguese are also big fans of their food. The local cuisine is not for the calorie counter though. Rich dishes of sausage and rabbit dominate the menus, and they boast pastry-based desserts which are hard to resist. When in Portugal, and if you fancy a change from the city life, then the central region of Portugal boasts an amazing mountain range where locals often enjoy a completely different lifestyle. We met this delightful shepherd who thoroughly enjoys the simplicity of his life out here, tending to a herd of 20 sheep and goats, only leaving to stock up on bread and water, completely at one with nature. If you're more of a thrill seeker instead and want a fix of adrenaline during your stay, then you needn't head any further than the mountain of Serra da Estrela. Upon scaling its dizzy heights, the local adventure group recommends a great way to get down, which will definitely leave your heart pumping. Well, I've really enjoyed my stay here at the central region of Portugal. You've got everything to experience, from rest and relaxation at the wonderful hotels and restaurants to the adventure of abseiling down a cliff face. And if you thought the Algarve was the only haven for beach lovers, then you'd be sadly mistaken, because just an hour's drive from Porto Airport is this beautiful coastline, Costa Nova, the perfect place for a romantic sunset drink. Saúde, Portugal!